At the beginning of the story, we see how Japan's Queen Himiko, with her dark magic, was determined to destroy the entire kingdom. To save the nation, the generals revolted against the queen, captured her, and abandoned her on an island where there was no one for miles around. Years later, Lord Richard Croft came across an old map that revealed the location of the island where Himiko had been left. Richard left his daughter in London and set out on his own in search of Himiko. 7 years passed. By now, Lara had grown up and was participating in an MMA fight. During the fight, her opponent was overpowering her. Soon, she caught Lara in a chokehold. Lara struggled for a long time, but in the end, she had no choice but to tap out. Since her father's disappearance, Lara had been surviving by doing odd jobs. Then one day, her father's business partner, Anna, came to meet her. Anna told her, "You don't need to do all this for money. Your father left plenty for you." But Lara didn't want her father's money. Since Richard had been missing for 7 years, Anna told her, "Look, you need to sign the papers so that we can declare Richard legally dead. Otherwise, all his property will be sold off, and you won't receive anything either." That evening, Lara thought about her father. Before leaving, Richard had given her a necklace that once belonged to her mother. He told Lara, "If you hold this necklace and think of someone, that person will somehow know they were remembered." The next day, Lara went to the Croft Holdings building to sign the papers declaring Richard dead. Before she signed, the lawyer handed her one of Richard's puzzles, known as the Karakuri. Lara took the puzzle, and upon solving it, she found a hidden letter and a key. The letter said, "The first word of my final resting place." Lara immediately understood its meaning. She went to her father's grave and pressed the first letter of his name, R, on the tombstone. A hidden slot for the key appeared. When Lara inserted and turned the key, a door opened on the other side of the grave, revealing Richard's secret office. Inside, Lara found fake passports and an old video camera with a message from Richard. In it, he explained how, after his wife's death, he sought a way to reunite with her in another world. That's why he worked on Project Himiko. Richard asked Lara to burn all of Himiko's research because if it fell into the wrong hands, it would cause chaos. There, Lara also found a box labeled Himiko. Instead of burning it, she began studying the contents. She read about Himiko and the island where she was kept, Yamatai. Lara realized Richard had been heading to Yamatai, and even discovered the name of the captain who was supposed to take him there. Since Lara hadn't signed the death papers yet, she didn't inherit any of her father's wealth. So, she sold her jade necklace and used the money to travel to Hong Kong. While searching for the ship's captain, some boys offered to help her but instead stole her bag. Lara chased them across boats, but they escaped on one that began sailing away. Lara ran through the market, reached their boat, and when the boys got off, she managed to grab the one with her bag. The boy threatened her with a knife, but Lara swung on a hook to the other side. That's when she saw the ship she was looking for, the Endurance. But the boys still didn't leave her alone and surrounded her again. Just then, the ship's captain, Lu Rin, fired a gunshot, scaring them away. Lu told Lara to leave immediately. However, he was heavily drunk and ended up falling off the ship unconscious. Lara splashed water on him to wake him up and then showed him her father's letter, asking about Richard. But Lu said, "My father's name is also Lu. Maybe your father spoke to mine. To be honest, my father is missing too." It turned out both Richard and Lu's father had gone missing on the same trip. Lara told him they had both been heading to Yamatai. In Richard's diary, Lara had found some codes, and Lu guessed they were like clock hands. Using them, Lara marked the island's location on the map. Lu immediately recognized it and warned her. "That island is extremely dangerous. Going there is suicidal. And honestly, I don't even care about my father." But later, after looking at a childhood photo with his dad, he reconsidered. Lara also deduced from some of Lu's belongings that he had lost money gambling the previous night. She offered him a significant sum of money to help her. Lu agreed, and together they set out toward Yamatai Island. On the way, while reading her father's diary, Lara came across an Asian puzzle among Richard's belongings. She discovered that Himiko had been imprisoned behind a sealed door, and Richard had found the way to open it. But even on that island, Reaching Himiko's tomb was going to be extremely difficult, and they would have to face many obstacles along the way. During this mission, Richard had been under the watch of an organization called the Order of Trinity. This organization sought to use mystical powers to rule over mankind. Richard feared that if they gained access to Himiko's powers, there would be no limit to what they could do. One night, Lara woke up and saw that a dangerous storm was raging outside. She climbed onto the bridge where Lu was struggling to control the ship. Lara noticed they were very close to Yamatai Island, but massive waves kept throwing the ship back. Lu told Lara to abandon ship. But Lara went back to her cabin to grab Richard's diary and, in the process, left behind the old puzzle. Just then, the ship crashed into a massive rock, and Lara was thrown into the water. The storm separated Lu and Lara. Somehow, Lara managed to reach the shore, only to realize that there were already people on this island. Suddenly, someone struck her, and she was knocked unconscious. The next day, Lara woke up inside a tent, where she found herself with a man named Matthias Vogel. Matthias told her, "Just like you, I also have a daughter." He explained that he couldn't leave the island and return home until his work here was complete. When Lara checked her bag, Matthias revealed that he now had Richard's diary, and everything he needed was already in his hands. Matthias then told her, "We captured your father. He refused to cooperate, so we had no choice but to kill him." Hearing this, Lara's heart sank. Her father was no longer alive. When she stepped outside, she saw workers trying to bring down the mountainside with explosives. Lara, who had been taken as a prisoner, also noticed that Lu had been captured too, and they were forcing him to work. Matthias gave the order for everyone to relocate. On the way, Lu explained to Lara that most of the workers here were either fishermen whose ships had wrecked near the island, or unfortunate people who had fallen into the smuggler's trap. Lara then told him that Matthias had killed her father. Soon after, Lu learned from the workers that his own father had also been killed. Lara apologized to Lu for bringing him to this dangerous place. From Richard's diary, Matthias had discovered the entrance to Himiko's tomb, and all the workers, including Lara and Lu, were forced to clear the path to it. At that moment, an old man collapsed from exhaustion. A guard shouted at him, "Get up, old man, and work!" Lara and Lu stepped in to defend him and clashed with the guard. But then Matthias arrived and shot the old man dead. Lu grabbed a pickaxe and threw it at the guard, creating a chance for Lara to escape. As Lara ran, a man aimed his gun at her, but at the last second, Lu attacked him and saved her. Lu tried to follow, but Matthias shot him in the arm. Meanwhile, Lara reached a mountainside and attempted to cross a fallen tree. Gunfire forced her to fall into a river. Struggling to survive, she reached a waterfall and grabbed onto the wing of a crashed airplane. She climbed up, but the weight caused the old, wrecked plane to start breaking apart. Lara rushed toward the main body of the plane, jumping into it just before the wing snapped off. But now the entire plane began collapsing and ended up wedged between two cliffs. Luckily, Lara found an old parachute. As she fell, she pulled the chute open and survived, though she crashed painfully into the jungle. During the fall, a sharp tree branch pierced her stomach. Screaming in agony, Lara pulled the wood out and decided to spend the night inside a nearby cave. While resting, she heard a noise and stepped outside. Suddenly, one of Matthias's men, Rocket, ambushed her. To escape, Lara bit his arm and fought back with all her strength. But Roth slammed her to the ground and tried to choke her to death. In desperation, Lara picked up a rock and smashed it against his head. She then forced his face into the mud until he suffocated and died. Still in shock over killing someone for the first time, Lara noticed a figure moving in the darkness. Without thinking, she followed. She saw the man climbing up a cliff. When she reached him, she was stunned. It was none other than her father, Richard. At first, Richard believed it was just a hallucination. How could his daughter possibly be here? But Lara reassured him that she was truly there with him. Seeing Lara, Richard's eyes filled with tears, and he asked, "What are you doing here?" Since Lara was injured, Richard bandaged her wound and told her to rest, promising that this time he would never leave her alone. The next day, the workers cleared the path to Himiko's tomb. Afterward, Matthias made a phone call. When Lara woke up in the morning, She saw Richard shaving, and she helped him. Richard explained that leaving Lara had been the hardest thing he had ever done, but because of Himiko, he could not leave the island. He told her that Matthias was working for the Trinity organization and that Richard had to stop him at all costs from reaching Himiko. Richard asked Lara, "Did you burn all of my research?" Lara admitted she hadn't. Hearing this, Richard became anxious. But Lara argued that if she had burned it, she never would have found him. When Richard learned that Matthias had his diary, he grew furious. Lara, however, didn't see it as a big deal. Richard warned her this wasn't a joke. If Himiko's tomb was opened, the entire world could be destroyed. Lara thought they could use Matthias's phone to escape, since fighting all those soldiers wasn't possible. She picked up a bow and arrows and ran toward Matthias's camp. Sneaking inside his tent, Lara managed to hide just before Matthias returned. Matthias received a message on his phone that his boss would soon arrive, but he still hadn't discovered the codes to open the entrance. When Lara slipped back out of the tent, she saw Lou, who had just killed the guard watching over the workers. Lou told the workers to gather weapons, while Lara would try to steal Matthias's phone. As soon as Matthias stepped out of his tent, Lara rushed in and grabbed the satellite phone. But then she noticed Richard heading toward the tomb. Matthias quickly spotted Richard and captured him, torturing him. Matthias wanted to finish his work quickly so he could return to his family. But Richard warned him that once the tomb was opened, his family would not survive either. Realizing Richard would never give him the truth, Matthias ordered a guard to shoot him. But before the guard could fire, Lara shot the guard instead. Now she had her bow aimed at Matthias, but he already had his gun pointed at Richard. Matthias knew Lara didn't truly believe in the end of the world prophecy. That's why he wanted her to force Richard to open the tomb. After a moment of hesitation, Lara decided she couldn't lose her father now, not after finally finding him. She said, "I know how to open the tomb," recalling how she had solved the old puzzle on her way here. Lara turned the wheels on the tomb door the same way and the entrance collapsed open. Lara, Richard, Matthias, and his entire team entered inside. As soon as they stepped in, a strong gust of wind swept through. Richard believed it was Himiko's breath. But Matthias scoffed. "No human breath can be that strong." Then, Lara accidentally stepped on a trigger, and a spear shot out of the ground, killing one of the guards. They moved forward and came to a deep pit filled with bones, the remains of people long dead. To reach the other side, they used a ladder. Suddenly, one of the guards triggered another trap, and circular stone doors slammed shut, trapping everyone inside. At the same time, the floor began to collapse. Lara spotted a guard left outside, watching them through a small hole. She tried to use the wall's wheels like keys to open the door. But the floor beneath her gave way, and Lara barely managed to hang from the doorway, still struggling to open it. At first, the door wouldn't budge. Then Lara remembered the entrance puzzle and realized she needed to combine the yellow and red wheels to form a green wheel. As soon as the green light appeared, the door opened. Inside, they found broken and ruined tombs. These were the graves of Himiko's handmaidens, who had continued serving her even after death. It was exactly as Richard had written in his diary. Seeing this, Lara began to wonder if the curse might actually be real. Finally, they reached Himiko's tomb itself. Richard pleaded with Matthias, telling him that opening it would be a huge mistake. But Matthias refused to listen. The guards opened Himiko's sarcophagus, revealing her dead body inside. Suddenly, Himiko's eyes opened, and her flesh began to decay rapidly. Lara noticed that in the paintings inside the tomb, Himiko was not shown in a demonic form. Then Lara remembered the earlier puzzle which said that for life to be restored, Himiko must die, and that anyone who touched Himiko's hand would meet their death. Lara warned the guards not to touch Himiko. Now Lara understood that to save the world, Himiko had sacrificed herself. But the guards didn't listen. As soon as they touched the body, Himiko suddenly stood up. Matthias thought this might just be a trick to scare them. But the guard who had touched Himiko's body saw his hand turn black and his flesh begin to rot. This revealed that Himiko's body carried a deadly virus, and that was the reason she had locked herself away, to keep the disease from spreading. The guard's whole body started rotting, and out of fear he opened fire, killing another guard who had touched the body. Then Matthias shot him as well. Even after witnessing this, Matthias decided to take one of Himiko's fingers to deliver it to his boss. While he was doing this, Lara grabbed an axe and attacked the last guard. Meanwhile, Richard picked up a dead guard's gun and shot Matthias in the leg. The wounded guard chased after Lara as she tried to escape. Matthias told Richard to just go home. But Richard refused. He would not let Himiko's finger leave the island, because if it did, the virus would spread throughout the world. Matthias began shooting at Richard, but soon his gun ran out of bullets. Just then, one of the infected guards stood up again and attacked Richard. With his attention diverted, Matthias managed to escape. Richard shot the guard, but in the struggle, the guard had touched him. This meant Richard was now infected with the virus too. He tied a bandage tightly around his arm to slow the infection's spread. Meanwhile, Lara hid inside one of the handmaiden's tombs, but she accidentally stepped on a bone, making a sound that gave away her location. The guard discovered her, and with both of their weight, the tomb collapsed. Lara fell into another chamber, with the guard falling in alongside her. She spotted a trigger and quickly stepped on it. Sharp wooden spikes rained down, impaling the guard and killing him instantly. Soon Lara returned to Himiko's tomb, but Richard warned her to stay back, since he was already infected. He told Lara to stop Matthias while he destroyed Himiko's tomb with fire. Lara desperately wanted to save her father, but Richard had accepted his fate. Richard told her, "For me, the greatest thing is that I got to see my daughter again." Crying, Lara picked up her weapons and said a final goodbye to her father. Meanwhile, Matthias was crossing the pit of bones. Lara leapt to the other side of the ladder and blocked him. She kicked Matthias, sending him back to the other side. But Matthias wasn't going to give up easily. The two engaged in a fierce fight. Matthias grabbed Lara by the neck, but she managed to throw him down. She was determined not to let Matthias escape with the virus. So, she destroyed the ladder itself. Matthias picked up an axe and swung it at her, knocking her to the ground and grabbing her neck. At that moment, Richard detonated explosives in Himiko's tomb, blowing it apart. The explosion distracted Matthias, giving Lara the chance to kick him and shove the bag containing Himiko's finger into his mouth. Now Matthias was infected with the virus too. Immediately, Lara pushed him into the pit. The entire place began to collapse, and Lara scrambled up the wall, trying to climb out. Lou spotted her from above and gave her a hand, pulling her out with great effort. Together they saw Trinity's helicopters and forced the pilots at gunpoint to fly them home. Back in London, Lara signed the papers officially declaring that her father was dead. This meant Richard's company now belonged to her. Anna told her to take full control of the business, but Lara replied that she wasn't interested in any of that. In the end, Lara bought back her mother's necklace, the same one she once had to sell, and held it in her hand, remembering her parents. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next